Hey everyone, today we're going to be relating decimal and fraction multiplication. I know I'm meeting expectations when I can accurately rewrite fractions as decimals, rewrite decimals as fractions, multiply whole numbers by decimals, and multiply decimals by decimals. So let's start by rewriting fractions as decimals. 1/10. So I know that when I say 1/10, I can think of it as a fraction or a decimal where the 1 is in the tens place, which means the decimal is to the left of the tens place, and there are 0 ones. This reads 0 and 1/10, just like the fraction does. Let's try with 4/10. We have 4 in the tenths place, so we have a decimal, a 4 in the tenths place, and a 0 in the ones place. Same thing with the 7. The 7/10 means the 7 is in the tens place. So we have our decimal, 7 is in the tens place, and a 0 is in the ones place. 100th. Okay, a little bit harder. So here we have a 1 in the hundredths place. There are 0 tenths, and the decimal goes to the left of the tenths place, 0 ones. Here, 1800ths. We see the 8 is in the hundredths place, the 1 is in the tenths place, the decimal always goes to the left of the tenths place, and there are 0 hundredths. I'm sorry, 0 ones. Whew. Here we have 900ths, so we have 9 in the hundredths place. There are 0 tenths, a decimal to the left of the tenths place, and 0 ones. All right, let's try the next part. We're going to rewrite the decimals as fractions. We see 8/10. The 8 is in the tenths place. So we're going to write the 8 in the numerator since that's the digit we see. And we write the place value it's in, which is in the tenths place. Both of these say 8/10. 8 here is in the hundredths place. So we're going to write 8 over 100 since the 8 is in the hundredths place. The 8 in this one is in the thousands place. So we're going to write 8, that's the digit we see, and it is in the thousands place. Finally, 1 and 7/10. Remember when we see the decimal, that means and. So we see the 1 is in the ones place. So we're going to write a big 1 because anything that here in the fraction is going to represent less than or a portion of 1. The 1 is our whole number. 7 is in the tens place, so we have 7 tenths. Here, the 1 again is in the ones place, so we have one big 1. The 7 in the hundredths place, so it's 7 over 100. Here, we see the 1 is in the ones place, so we have one big 1. We have 207,000. So we're going to write 207 just like we see. And the 7 is in the thousands place, so we're going to put 1,000 at the denominator. All right, let's try guide learning number 2. We're going to solve the multiplication questions using both unit form and multiplying fractions, and we're going to write our answers as a decimal and as a fraction. So starting with the first one, it says 1/10 of 4. We're going to use unit form, so I see this is 1/10, so I'm going to write 1/10 of means multiplication. 4, and that is in the ones place, so we're going to be multiplying it by 4 ones. Start by multiplying the digits. 1 times 4 is 4. Tenths times ones is tenths, because when you multiply by ones, it's what you had started with. So ones times tens is tenths. 4/10. We can write 4/10 as 0 and 4/10. Now let's try multiplying fractions. 1/10 of 4. So this time, instead of writing 1/10 as in unit form or as a decimal, I'm going to write it as a fraction. So 0.1 is the same as 1 over 10, 1/10. Of means multiply. And 4, so remember, we can write any whole number as a fraction over 1. So 4 equals 4 over 1. There's one part to make up each whole, and we have 4 wholes. Then we just multiply across. Let me use there we go. 1 times 4 is 4. That's going to be our numerator. 10 times 1 is 10. That's our denominator. Notice 0 and 4/10 is the same as 4 over 10. Let's try the next one. 1/100th times 4. I'm going to start by writing 100th times 4 ones, because the 4 is in the ones place. Start by multiplying the whole numbers. 1 times 4 is 4. Hundredths times 1, remember, means that our answer is in hundredths. So 4 hundredths. I can rewrite this as a decimal. 0. That's not a very good 0. Let's try that again. 0 and, still a really bad 0, 4 hundredths. Notice the 4 is in the hundredths place because we're in our hundredths, so the last digit needs to end the hundredths, which means there are 0 tenths. We still need to put a 0 in the tenths place, even though there's no tenths. So that's showing that there's no tenths. Now we're going to move on to multiplying fractions. We have 100th already given to us. We're going to multiply it by this 4, which is the same as 4 over 1. So 4 over 1. And now once again, we can just multiply across. 1 times 4 is 4. And then 100 times 1 is 100. So 0 and 4 hundredths is the same as 4 over 100. Let's put in number C, the letter C. 1,000th. So I'm going to write that down, 1,000th. And of means multiply. 4, and it's in the ones place. So 4 ones. Start by multiplying the whole numbers. 1 times 4 is 4. Thousandths times ones is thousands. So our answer is 4 thousandths. We can write that as a decimal as 0 and 4 thousandths, putting the 4 in the thousands place. Notice we have 0 in the tenths and the hundredths place to show that there are no tenths or hundredths. Now let's multiply. 1,000th can be written as 1 over 1,000, and 4 can be rewritten as 4 over 1. Let's multiply. 1 times 4 is 4. 1,000 times 1 is 1,000. So 4 thousandths is the same as 4 over 1,000. All right, D. 1 and 2 tenths times 1 tenth. So what we can do is we can read this number just using tenths. We see that 1 and 2 tenths is the same as 12 tenths. So we're going to write 12 tenths. And we're going to multiply this by 1 tenth. Start by multiplying the whole numbers. 12 times 1 is 12. Tenths times tenths. Well, I know 10 times 10 is 100. So tenth times tenth is hundredth. I can rewrite this as a decimal. That's 0 and 12 hundredths. Noticing the 2 is in the hundredths place and the 1 is in the tenths place. Now we can write this as fractions. So we already said these were 12 tenths. So we can write 12 tenths as 12 over 10 times 1 tenth, which is 1 over 10. We're going to start by multiplying the numerators. 12 times 1 is 12. 10 times 10 is 100. 12 hundredths is the same as 12 over 100. Now let's try here. 1 and 5 tenths. This can also be written as 1.5. But we're going to say for unit form, we're going to say this just using tenths, just like we did with D. So 1 and 5 tenths can also be written as 15 tenths. And we're going to multiply it by 100th. Start by multiplying the whole numbers. 15 times 1 is 15. Tenths times hundredths. Well, I know 10 times 100 is 1,000. So tenths times hundredths is thousandths. So now I can write this as a decimal. Thousandths is what our 5 is going to end in. So I'm going to start by putting the 5 in the thousandths place, which puts the 1 in the hundredths place. I notice there's no tenths because we already have the hundredths here. We still need to show the tenths place, so I'm going to put a 0, our decimal point, and then a 0 in the ones place. 0 and 15 thousandths. Now let's try by multiplying fractions. We have 1 and 5 tenths, which we said is 15 tenths, and we can write that as 15 over 10. We're going to multiply that by 100. Start by multiplying the numerators. 15 times 1 is 15. 10 times 100 is 1,000. 0 and 15 thousandths is the same as 15 over 1,000. Now we're going to try F. 3 and 2 tenths can be written as 32 tenths. 2 and 1 tenth, that can also be written as 2.1. So we're going to be multiplying by 21 tenths. Ooh, 32 times 21. That's right. I'm going to do that off to the side. Start by multiplying your ones place. So 1 times 2 is 2. 1 times 3 is 3. I'm multiplying by the 2 in the tenths place now. Tenths place. So I'm putting a 0 in the ones place. 2 times 2 is 4. 2 times 3 is 6. And now I'm going to add. 2 plus 0 is 2. 3 plus 4 is 7. 6 plus nothing is 6. So that's 672. And now tenths times tenths is hundredths. Because 10 times 10 is 100. All right. So 672 hundredths. So let's start by writing that as a decimal. The 2 is in the hundredths place. The 7 is in the tenths place, putting the decimal point to the left of the tenths place, and moving the 6 to the ones place. So 672 hundredths is the same as 6 and 72 hundredths. Now let's try writing as a fraction. 32 tenths can be written as 32 over 10 times 21 tenths can be written as 21 over 10. We already did 32 times 21. We see that's 672. So it's going to be 672. And then 10 times 10 is 100. So 6 and 72 hundredths is the same as 672 hundredths. Last one. 3 and 2 tenths can be written as 32 tenths. And we're going to be multiplying this by 21 over 100 is 21 hundredths. So we're going to write times 21 hundredths. We already did 32 times 21 back here, and we got 672. And now we're going to do tenths times hundredths. Well, I know 10 times 100 is 1,000, so tenths times hundredths is thousands. I can write this as a decimal, putting the 2 in the thousandths place, 7 in the hundredths, 6 in the tenths. My decimal goes to the left of the tenths, and then my 0. All right, I'm going to change colors just so it's not purple again. All right, multiplying fractions. 32 tenths can be written as 32 over 10. 21 hundredths can be written as 21 over 100. 32 times 21, we already said, is 672. 10 times 100 is 1,000. So 0 and 672 thousandths is the same as 672 over 1,000.